Oh, that's a rose.
Yeah, the cover of the album is American Beauty, and it's the red rose. I prayed for it. Is he saying make the move?
This is Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide, and we see God, we see His hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention, inviting us into a closer relationship. Here we share stories of encounter with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, big and little God incidents. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Welcome. Glad you could spend some time here at episode 85 of Touched by Heaven. Got a question for you. Show of hands. In the Noah story, go build the big boat. How many think that was the first time God had really had a conversation with Noah when He told him, go build the big boat? Put your hands down. Not a chance, right? Not a chance. He's got Noah building dinghies long before he's got him building the big boat that needs to house all the animals and the family and all that. For God to get to that point of go build a big boat that Noah would, you started out with dinghies. And He does that with all of us. The title of this episode, How God Increases Our Trust in Him Over Time. Where is He in your trust building? Last week, I was talking about Mother Angelica, who started up the EWTN television network, biggest broadcast religious media outfit in the world, this cloistered nun. She orders a $600,000 satellite dish to pump the information up to the satellite and then to the world. She didn't have the money. First conversation with God? Hardly. Where to start for, I don't know about Noah's childhood, but I know a little bit about Mother Angelica. I read a book on her, and I'm going to try to remember. It's been years, but I know that as a teen, she had some serious health issues, and she got a miracle. Think about that. She knows God healed her in a huge miracle. Now, she runs off to a convent. She ran away from home. Family didn't care for that. Ultimately, they signed off on it. She wanted to be in that convent. To take the next step in becoming a sister, part of the test really was she had to be able to kneel for a long period of time, because nuns kneel and they pray, and she knew her knees couldn't handle it. She had bad knees. Painful. But not on that day. Not on that day where she had to pass that test of kneeling, no pain. There was no way God was going to let that get in the way of His plan for her purpose. Later, when she walks into a Chicago television station to be interviewed because she's written a book and she's all about evangelization, and she sees this, goes, ooh, I got to get me one of these. How much are these? Well, this one costs $1 million to build. Ooh. And I remember the one day where she needs 50 grand, otherwise it's done, it's over, and on that day, a guy drives up to the convent, gets out of his car, walks up, knocks on the door, and presents to her a check for $50,000. Not sure why he got that big push today from God that she needed $50,000, but the exact amount she needed, he hands her a check for $50,000. Mother Angelica is saying, what is faith? What is trust? Foot on the ground, foot in the air, and that queasy feeling in your stomach. She lived her whole life with that queasy feeling in her stomach as God increased her trust in Him over time. And He's doing that with you and me as well. This week, I want to use Gary Jacquetti as an example of God increasing the trust of Gary in Him over time. And what I love about this is that I'm going to hear myself, you're going to hear yourself in these moments of great confidence and moments of great doubt as we travel this road of trusting in God. Back in episode 67, the episode's called Still Casting Nets, about him making this statue, this bronze statue, expensive bronze statue for a church of St. Andrew. To create this St. Andrew statue, he had to use the interior skeleton of a statue he had made of St. Dominic. And St. Dominic is all about the rosary.
What I'm praying for is, I last summer, I told the Monsignor, I believe I'm being called to spend the rest of my life making saint statues. And I'm working on a St. Therese of Lisieux right now. And I'm praying, that, my talents can be moved that way. Now, I don't know, that they are, because I'm not getting, the email's not lighting up, or so, I'm struggling with that right now.
So you're trying to figure out how the conversation is continuing with you.
That's what yes, exactly. But the problem is with, doing bronze statuary, it's prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, like what did that statue cost the church?
$60,000. Yeah,
because it's very expensive for you to make that happen.
Absolutely. I mean, it's more than 60% of that was just the foundry cost.
Wow.
So it's not that I'm making oodles of money or living oceanfront, with a boat or anything. But it's I feel that's my calling, but I can't. I can't just. I'm wrestling it even now as I speak. Like now, do I just go to the studio and just start making a St. Paul? Or do I, and then what if nobody wants the St. Paul? So it's kind of right now I'm struggling with that.
Yeah, and it's the struggle with all Christians in this conversation. We don't want to leap to conclusions that aren't there, messages that aren't being sent to us.
Right.
I don't want to make this, whoa, that's what I want to do now, and it's not what God wants. I know that's always the struggle, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Gary's waiting for a sign. Come on, St. Therese. Where's the flower? Come on, Andrew. Come on, Dominic. Come on, somebody. And you know that feeling, too, when you're praying. Anybody listening? And then one day...
I had proposed a St. Dominic statue I work at Mount St. Mary College. I'm an adjunct professor. The college was founded by the Sisters of St. Dominic of the Rosary. And when I first started there, the head of my division, Arts and Letters, was Sister Catherine, who was one of the nuns. And she was leaving. I said, Sister Catherine, wouldn't it be nice, if we did a statue of St. Dominic to put outside the Dominican house? So just Monday, I'm leaving my class. I'm walking down the stairwell. I think of St. Dominic of the Rosary. Your podcast came on my phone.
Just automatically.
Yeah. I mean, in my pocket. This is the Monday after your episode on Mary, Mother of the Rosary. Isn't that? I mean, I never, ever. I mean, I've butt dialed people, but never has your podcast come on automatically.
That episode was called Mary, Our Lady of the Rosary, and St. Dominic is the one she gave it to in the 1200s.
And I'm just a little bit confused because I don't know where to take this or where to go with this.
It may be going by itself. I mean, it may just be, you're getting your sign. You're getting your sign. Something's happening here.
It's all a wonderful mystery. Where it goes, I don't know that I have a story, but I definitely got a phone call from heaven is what I'm thinking. Loud and clear that at that moment that I thought of St. Dominic, your podcast came on. That's the beauty of the saints. That's why it's such a dedication to the saints. And I have a good priest friend who said, make sure you make them human. Their likenesses they were human. I mean, we are the communion of saints. We're part of that.
Yeah, saints are real and alive. They're more alive now than when they were alive. I mean, because now they're alive 24/7, totally connected. They are definitely alive. And so, signs are coming in, right? Increasing the trust of Gary. More signs. And then another experience.
Trevor Jack.
And now the continuing saga of Gary Jacquetti and Dominic.
All right. You're going to enjoy this one because this touches into something of your former career.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm walking into college class Monday.
Because you're a professor of something.
A professor of art at Mount St. Mary College, teaching in Aquinas Hall.
Okay.
Okay.
As in Thomas.
St. Thomas Aquinas,
okay.
A Dominican.
Oh, I had forgotten that part. Excuse me. Thank you. Okay.
I had to look it up. So,
okay.
All right. So I'm walking into my class just outside the door, and with my phone in my pocket, "Friend of the Devil" comes on.
Well,
Grateful Dead song, right?
Okay.
Pandora. That has never come on in my pocket.
Friend of the Devil by
the Grateful Dead.
Grateful Dead. There's something for you. And Friend of the Devil. Wow.
Friend of the Devil. And I'm a Deadhead. I was a big fan.
Yeah.
Of the band. And I'm okay. So now I'm like, okay, now what's this all about? Do I have God calling me and the devil calling me?
Well, the devil hates the rosary. We know that.
That's it. So and I went up and actually, I teach a painting class, and we play, we put music on, and I put the Grateful Dead station. I was just thinking, what's in this? What's this message?
No rhyme, no reason, just off Pandora. Suddenly it starts playing that.
Has never happened before. Again,
as it never had played a podcast as it did.
Never. Right. Exactly. So that's so I think, and I kind of went home, talked to my wife, and I just assumed, all right, so now the devil's talking. So, now we got the battle going on. And do you know anything about the Grateful Dead?
I saw them once, but no, I would say overall, no.
Okay.
I mean, I know, but I don't know.
Do you know what album Friend of the Devil's on?
I would not.
American Beauty.
American Beauty.
Yeah, Rose.
Oh, that's a rose.
Yeah, the cover of the album is American Beauty, and it's the red rose.
Oh. So now we're going to Saint Therese. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And I prayed. Okay, where's my rose? Where's my rose? I'm looking. I'm thinking maybe I'll show up at the studio and there'll be a rose. And lo and behold, I get my rose. Yesterday, I assumed, because there's really nothing religious or anything that the Grateful Dead has ever, done or did or
hardly
that I know of. The Grateful Dead, one of their was Skull and Roses, one of their trademark iconic imagery, are Skull and Roses. But American Beauty, the album, it's a red rose.
It's interesting. The rosary is your greatest spiritual weapon. And if you're fighting something, who are we fighting? We're fighting the devil, right?
Right, exactly.
So that isn't that interesting?
It's uncanny. It's uncanny.
The deeper you get into thinking about it, the more interesting it gets, isn't it?
It really is. And that, a band that I admired and
Yeah, that's the great thing about God. He tells you things that you know.
Right.
Sometimes you have to do some research. I've found that to be true. But most of the time, he's telling me, he's linking into things I know. So for something like that, where it's good versus evil,
right.
and the rosary, and the fact that, as I mentioned on the last podcast, as you heard me say, it's basically 50 roses for Mary. You're giving Mary a rose for every Hail Mary. And there on one album, you have that battle. You have the battle right there on that album cover.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes. That is coming through my, apps are opening on my phone. It's not coincidence. It doesn't happen. But wow. I have to act on this. So
okay. So how do you take all this?
I take it because I question Therese. I mean, it's a big go sign for me.
You think you're supposed to start the Dominic one? Do you think you're supposed to?
I believe I'm going to have a meeting with the president of the college.
Okay.
I mean, I believe, and I might be changing career paths.
It's so involved. It's so precise. The rose, the skull, Grateful Dead, good, evil, rosary, Dominic. I mean, it's just so, wow.
Yeah, wow.
None of them don't fit. None of them don't fit. As you are right now, getting jacked by this, going, wait a minute, does this mean, he sends us on our own, he sends us on missions. He does. Encounter. Bishop Robert Barron always talks about this. Where there is encounter, there is a mission. He doesn't just let you sit in it. There's a mission in encounter. You are on this mission, on this journey, your faith journey.
It's awesome. It really is awesome. It's, I pray for it and it's like prayers answered. So I just have to keep going forward. I'm
not you, so I can't read this to go, well, I'm starting tomorrow and I'm going to do the clay.
Right.
And I can't say that for you, but
sure.
For you, there's no question between my podcast going off, this song playing, the album cover, the rose, Saint Therese, which we've talked about.
Right.
And she answers through roses. There's people thinking we're nuts right now. There are people thinking we're nuts right now, and I don't care. I don't care.
Well, that's they're the doubters and they're the Thomases.
you just have to have your eyes open.
Yeah.
The signs, I think, are always there.
Don't be foolish. Don't be stupid.
Right.
Don't jump to conclusions. We don't want to do that. I don't think we are.
Right.
I think we're both going, ooh, cool Newton, a cool next step, a cool next step. So is your wife excited too? Is your wife excited for this?
She's convinced. She's definitely convinced. We've witnessed, the miracle with Andrew, and my devotion to the saints it's just amazing what Jesus can do through humans. That's just, I mean, they're human like you and I, but they did God's work on earth.
I'm excited. I'm too jacked right now. I'm too excited. It's like I just had 4 glasses of caffeine or something. I don't know.
Well, I'm finding it. Who do I tell? I want to stand on top of the mountain, but do I tell my colleagues? Yeah. Do I tell?
I know. I'll go tell that nut trapper. I'll go tell him. Yeah.
Well, you're reaching a lot more people than I can than I probably know. So, so maybe I'm standing up on the mountaintop and trying to share the good news.
Yeah. No, there's something there, buddy. I think there's something.
I think so.
If people listen to this one and then go back and listen to the last one of your story and episode 67,
right.
I think you see a trajectory going on here.
There's something happening here. Yeah. So, to be continued, I think, huh?
And the continuing story of Gary Jacquetti will now roll on. I got to cue the organ music.
It sounds great.
So I'm putting together the podcast, and I couldn't resist. I had to send Gary a text just to see if there was anything new, and he texted me back.
Messages 8 minutes ago. Gary Jacquetti, gone silent. I think the ball's in my court.
How dead does it feel?
It feels totally dead. I mean, I even now I'm thinking when I walk into Aquinas Hall, I start thinking about the Dominic statue. But see, it's God's will. It's not my will.
Amen. But I'm just kind of sitting here going, because you heard last week's episode, right?
I did.
Did it hit home? Mother Angelica, and you got to do the ridiculous in order to have God do the miraculous. But at the same time, as I'm explaining in this episode, is that's not the first conversation Mother Angelica had with God. I mean, this was a lifelong relationship of these nudges and push, so that she trusted more and more as she went through her life. It's like in Noah's case, the first thing God said to him was not go build a big boat. He had to build some dinghies along the way. So I feel like with you, I feel him reeling you in. I feel him building your trust in him.
I'm struggling with it. I really am. I'm struggling with it.
And you know what? You're supposed to be. This is the queasy thing Mother Angelica talked about, the foot on the ground, foot in the air, and that queasy feeling in your stomach of, do I trust this? Is this enough information? I got a rose. I got
in my own language too, which I never expected.
In your own, Grateful Dead.
I mean,
whoa,
Go figure that one. And that's just delightful.
And remember, Gary has been praying to Saint Therese for a sign, a rose, a sign that he would be making statues of saints. That's what he really wants to do. And now he has his rose. And as a matter of fact, the last time we talked to him, he was ready to start now.
Well, I could start making a statue. The clay part's not expensive. I have the clay. That's the expense is when you come to cast it in bronze.
Yeah.
The worst that could happen is I have a 6-foot clay statue of Dominic that just stays clay,
which you can use for Halloween
next year. Well, they take about 6 to 8 months to complete.
I prayed for it. Is he saying make the move?
It's easy for us. It's easy for us to go for it, Gary. Go for it. You got a rose. You got Dominic on your side. It's a rosary thing. I mean, how many different ways? Of course, Gary. It's so easy for us to sit on the sidelines and go, Gary, go. Because it does look like everything's there, doesn't it? It does look like there's a, especially if the prez says, this would be a good thing.
I anticipated probably not going that well. And I don't really think that honoring saints in bronze is where our culture is at.
Yeah. Well,
9 foot Ray Lewis's.
Yeah, sports heroes or something. Yeah.
Right. That's where our culture is.
Isn't that the truth? Just go by any stadium and
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have a young colleague that's making a fantastic living. He's hooked up with the Philadelphia 76ers, and good for him. But that's where our culture. We're not making 9 foot. We should be making 9 foot Marys and 9 foot Dominics and 9 foot. Boy, I could be busy.
Yeah.
If
isn't that sad? It's so true.
It is. It's a testament to our culture, and how where our priorities are for our heroes, for our mentors. I was at a Bible study this summer, and it came up, who's your mentor? And I said, well, shouldn't Jesus be our mentor? Isn't that the goal? Love your neighbor, love God. Love is the whole. It's the center of everything.
Yeah.
But it's not a priority in the majority of our culture. There are people that are living, saintly lives today.
Can I crawl inside your gut for a second here? I want to crawl.
Sure.
Grateful Dead. You got, a little flower. You got some stuff. You've got podcasts going off. You've got songs going off. The more I think about it, it's like, boy, take a step, Gary. See how easy it is on the sideline? So easy on the sideline. You've got those are pretty ridiculous signs. Those are ridiculous signs.
Are they? Because I'm just thinking, well, I got a default, funky iPhone.
That it would be that song and that podcast. Yeah, pretty funky phone you got there. Pretty funky. You got all this stuff going on. But so if the prez says yes, then what?
Oh, then I'm immediately getting a studio space in the armature and the clay.
And if he's okay, he says no. Now what?
I listen to the gospel and use your talents. I hear it every Sunday almost. Mm-hmm. Or at least I must imagine I hear it because it's very repetitive, to use your talents to serve. Yeah. And I figure, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Bring it on. But it takes, well, you know what it takes? I figured it takes prayer. First I thought it was going to take man, and I thought, no, it's not going to be men. I thought, okay, it's going to be God. Of course, it's God's will. It's not, it's not my will. It's God's will. And then, I spoke to a priest. He said, it's going to take prayer. So that's where I'm at.
It's difficult to imagine after getting sign after sign after sign that suddenly someone says, no, don't want it. It's like, well, what's the point of that? Why did you have me coming down this path for what? Not to say God doesn't have a plan with that, just to check the trust. And you are trusting. You're following the path. You're not blowing this off. You're following.
I'm doing my best, and I'm doing a lot of soul searching and a lot of prayer.
Yeah,
and we'll see where this adventure goes. But I think my rose was a green light to Tourette's. Mm-hmm. That's that was. I started to doubt that too, but I believe that's going to be a full court press.
There's just no way. There's no way they're doing this. I always say they because it's
Yeah, they were definitely signs, but I think I also think it's now it's time. Okay, it's my turn to step up. They're not just going to keep ringing me every week and say all right, how you doing, Gary?
I agree. The ball's in your court.
It is.
I agree. And there just doesn't seem to be a lot of dribbling right now. I'm drooling, but not dribbling. Not well. There's always that.
I'm struggling. I'm close to retirement age from. I've been a teacher for 20, however many years. Do I just throw it all in and just go make statues? Holy cow! without commissions. I'm planning on meeting with the president of the college. That's my next step. I really think the ball's on my court. It's okay. Here's your sign. Go run with it.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I'm going to do. My plan is to, meet with the president of the college, see if there's any traction there. I think the rose, the Therese statue is not a commission either. The Therese that I'm working on is a, like an alumnus, project that I have, friends working on to give to my high school was called Little Flower. She's probably 2/3 completed. That's what I worked on this summer. Mm-hmm. Her feast day is October 1st, I believe. So I have to get it to the foundry, like mid-June, to have it cast and then dedicated and presented dedicated. Then, so I'm going full court on that.
Okay.
Even with without the money, without the I've got the approval from the school, but there is no funding yet. I got my rose.
You got a rose.
I did.
I mean, you did get a green light. Just follow that green light. Whether the prez says yes or no,
correct.
Just keep following to. Okay, I'm with you there.
Correct. I feel that 100% in my heart.
Yeah. Okay, we're good with that.
Good.
Okay, go teach somebody how to. And by the way, those paint by numbers, I'd go with just teach that, because if you scrape away some of that Michelangelo stuff, you will see numbers. I'm telling you.
Follow the clues. That's what we're trying to do.
There you go.
So, Trapper Jack, thank you.
All right,
talk
be
to you
well.
soon.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, what's the takeaway? What did God just say in all of that? Too many coincidences. That's what I say, Gary. Queasy, yeah. Queasy. I get the queasy, but there is something so good that's coming from this. Just add it all up. You've got Dominic, who went inside that St. Andrew statue, and there was a miracle there. So already we have something good happening with Dominic. You have the podcast going off in your pocket of an episode about Rosary and St. Dominic. You got that going for you. You've got this conversation going on with the college, with the Sisters of the Rosary, and outside the building named after Dominic. And boy, that sure still adds up. A lot of Dominic in all of this. There's a lot of Dominic. So I'm not giving up on that. Now, granted, if there is a Dominic statue, there will have to be the Tom Brady quarterback statue near. So I'm not giving up on Dominic on this at all. Okay, now let's get to the other friend of the devil. Okay. The Grateful Dead album. Okay, you do have that battle. Good guys, bad guys, Grateful Dead. You got the skull. But something else, too, I mentioned a few episodes back. The skull, in early Christian art, the skull was a good thing, a positive sign. It was a sign of the resurrection, of defeating death. So the skull is positive in this as well as the rose. You were praying for a rose. You wanted that rose from St. Therese. Her signature is sending roses, and there it is. I'm not giving up on Dominic. I'm not. There are just too many signs there. Good things coming. I know that. I know good things are coming as he builds your trust in God. Thanks again, Gary. Here on Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. I got a big thank you to give out to, thank you so much, Lucille Saha, who has been supporting us on Patreon, through Patreon, for years now with the old Blind Faith Live podcast, now the Touched by Heaven podcast. So I just want to do a shout out for you, Lucille. Thank you so much for your support. You can join Lucille at patreon.com. And just search for Trapper Jack, or go to this episode 85 of touchedbyheaven.net, and click your way through. Need your story? Do need your story? Get a hold of me at touchedbyheaven.net, and we'll talk, all right? In the meantime, let's all pray for each other for an increase in trust in God. And I'll see you next week here on Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.